Okay, so this is the 9th video for the Jagdpanther tank destroyer, and we are going to be continuing with the suspension. So I got a whole lot of those 11mm buttons we used a couple of last time, pre-sanded here. And I've also got, these are 7mm hole punch discs. Now I've glued 3 of them together here to make this sort of plug. But it really depends on how thick the cardboard you're using is. What you're trying to do is basically get a piece of cardboard the same thickness or a little bit thicker than the buttons you're using. So you're going to need 2 of those for each vehicle. And we're just going to jump right in now. And put the layer of these buttons onto the vehicle. Now, I recommend actually going concave side out, so toward you, just because it's easier to glue the flat side to the paper. You're not part of the 7mm hole punch disc isn't falling like inside the concave area. And for this first front one, actually kind of, if you can see how it's not lining up with this circle, it's kind of set back and below it. That is necessary if you want to be able to fit your track in under this track cover when the track cover is set in its final position. So do set it a little bit low, even in relation to this hole punch disc. The rest of these, you want to use the blue marking sort of behind it to guide you as to where the button should sit. So it's actually pretty convenient. Just use those blue marks behind it. It should be 11mm. So you'll be able to at least, if you're using 11mm buttons, you'll be able to see them just behind all the way around. Or at least I can. And again, I think I mentioned this last time, but you really, like, I've got all these buttons out of one package of 80. And so they're all the same size and thickness. That's really, really important. If you can get that, that's good. I've heard like one guy used washers, I think. The problem with them being that they're metal, so I'm not sure exactly how they worked out in the end. But if you can find sort of standardized buttons, really, really helps. So get both sides done like this, and you'll look like this. Except you want to install this little plug that you made of 3 7mm hole punch discs right in the center of the front drive wheel. So I'm using 4:1 glue for pretty much all of this. The one thing you want to be careful is that you don't have this falling down into the concave area on any one side, so it would make the outer wheel tilted. Just be careful that it's sitting flat. And let that all dry. And for the next step, I believe we're mostly using crazy glue. Oh, there we go. There's still some left in here. So you want to take crazy glue, and you're going to glue another layer of buttons sort of to these buttons. And with this set, go concave side in. Because these buttons, the center was actually a little bit convex, so you definitely don't want to make it concave. And with the final detailing, we'll put a piece on there. So anyways, again, concave side in, so you can't see it. And try to get them as nicely centered and on the same level as the other ones. And with this front one, I understand it's a little bit weird to just have a button going off into space like this. Just should be fine. Just try to center it. Oh, these black buttons, I forgot. The black buttons have a bit of a wedge shape on the outside for some reason. They're a little bit different. This one should work better. So just try to observe like how much the other buttons are pushing up toward the center and kind of match that last one to where the rest of them are sitting. Then once you have that layer done, you're going to put another layer on that matches the first layer. But this one, again, concave side out. And really, really try to be careful to match exactly the position of the buttons in the rear or inside row. You might also want to be careful, like if there's slightly different concave, fatty thicknesses. Like these are pretty cheap buttons, so they're not all perfectly the same. And some of them have quite a deep concave area, and some of them have a quite shallow one. So if you're using similar buttons to that, you might want to kind of observe the depth of the concavity before selecting which buttons to use for each layer. Right, you can hide shallow ones in the middle layer, and then have the nice deep concave ones on the outer layer. Okay, so once you've got to there, put this away for a second. We're going to need to trim this. Now, like I said, I do want to make these snowflakes available on the website, but for now the store is inactive, so you're going to be using whatever you can find. So this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but it may eventually apply to you, so bear with me. Just go around from the back and trim out all of the excess pieces pushing over, and it gives you sort of a drive wheelie looking thing here. And we're going to glue that to the front, and it should come out to about the same level as the outer button layer. And be slightly above this layer of buttons as well. Be nicer if it could be a bit higher, but you do not want to be interfering with the track and the track cover and stuff like that. You need room to install it, especially with this back wheel tucked under this wing here. So do that for both sides, and that gets you to the next step, and well on our way to having a suspension. Thanks for watching, and see you guys soon.